They laughed. They mocked. They whispered behind your back, their voices dripping with amusement at your failures, their smirks cutting deeper than any blade. You were the punchline to their jokes, the one they dismissed without a second thought. They saw you stumble. They saw you struggle. And in their minds, they decided your fate. You were weak. You were nothing, a shadow fading into irrelevance. But what they never saw, what they never could have predicted, was that every laugh, every insult, every moment they dismissed you was carving something dangerous inside you. A storm was forming in the silence, a reckoning. They should have been more careful. They should have known that every joke at your expense was only fueling something unstoppable. You weren't dying, you were transforming. You felt the weight of their words for too long. Every time you tried to rise, doubt wrapped itself around your throat, whispering lies in your ear. They're right about you. You'll never make it. You'll never be enough. The world had already placed its bets against you. You could feel it in the way they looked at you, the way they brushed past you like you were invisible. You were the one who never mattered, the one they never took seriously. And for a long time, you started to believe them. But something is shifting now. Something deep inside you is awakening. The realization that you were never the joke. The real joke was believing them. The real mistake was letting their opinions define you. Because what they never understood is that silence does not mean surrender. That stillness is not weakness. A predator waits in silence before it strikes. A fire smolders before it consumes everything in its path. And now, the time for waiting is over. This is the moment, the breaking point. The second where everything they thought about you, everything they assumed, crumbles into dust. Because they don't know what's coming. They have no idea that every failure, every rejection, every moment of humiliation has been shaping something lethal inside you. They thought they were watching your downfall, but they were witnessing your rebirth. You feel it, don't you? That shift, that surge of clarity. The anger is no longer just anger, it's purpose. The pain is no longer just pain, it's a weapon. They forge this version of you with every insult, every dismissal, every time they turn their backs. And now, the world will see the version of you they never expected. The nightmare they never saw coming. There's no more waiting, no more seeking approval, no more hoping they see your worth. You are done explaining yourself, done shrinking to fit into the small spaces they assigned you. They thought they had you figured out. They thought you would stay down. They thought wrong. Now it's your turn, and when you rise, they won't be laughing anymore. You know the pain, don't you? The kind that doesn't just hurt, it lingers. The kind that turns into a silent weight on your chest, making it harder to breathe with every passing day. It's the feeling of being overlooked, ignored, dismissed, like you were never there to begin with. You've watched them walk past you as if you were invisible. You've heard their empty reassurances, their half-hearted support that never meant a damn thing. They never believed in you. Not really. They smiled to your face, but deep down, they had already written you off. They're just not cut out for it. They'll never make it. Why even try? You've heard those words, felt their weight pressing against you, shackling you to a life you never wanted. And the worst part? Some days you almost believed them. Some days their voices became your own. Because that's how it starts, isn't it? The doubt creeps in slowly, poisoning everything it touches. One failure turns into 1,000 regrets. One rejection turns into a belief that maybe, just maybe, you were never meant for more. Maybe they were right. Maybe you really are just a joke, an afterthought, a shadow of something that never was. The world has a way of making you feel small. Society tells you to dream big, but the second you try, it slams the door in your face. It dangles success in front of you, then snatches it away, laughing at your attempts to reach for it. They tell you to be patient, to wait your turn, but your turn never comes. You've seen people rise while you stayed stuck. You've watched them get the opportunities that should have been yours. You've stood in the crowd clapping for their success while swallowing your own disappointment. They made it look effortless, as if life had already paved the way for them while you were still crawling through the mud. It's a special kind of torture, knowing you have the potential but never being given the chance to prove it. You've tried. God, you've tried. You've fought battles no one even knows about. The sleepless nights, the moments when giving up seemed easier than continuing. The times you looked in the mirror and hated what you saw, not because of who you were, but because of who you weren't. Yet, and no one saw it. No one noticed the war inside you. You've been told to be grateful for what you have, as if you weren't already clawing your way through life with everything you've got. They tell you it could be worse, but that doesn't erase the fact that it should be better. You weren't meant for mediocrity. You weren't built for a life of just existing, but here you are, stuck, trapped in a cycle that keeps repeating itself, waiting for something, anything, to change. You've convinced yourself that maybe if you just work harder, if you just wait a little longer, things will finally shift. But deep down, you know the truth. The world doesn't hand out victories. It doesn't give a damn about how hard you work or how much you want it. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to knock on your door and hand you the life you deserve. And maybe that's the hardest truth to swallow. You've spent so long waiting for a sign, for someone to recognize the fire inside you, but all you've gotten is silence. And so the anger builds. The frustration turns into something heavier. You feel it burning beneath your skin. The desperation, the hunger, the exhaustion of always being the one left behind. You weren't made to be invisible. You weren't meant to spend your life watching others live the dreams you know should be yours. But you're still here. Despite it all, despite every time you wanted to quit, you're still here. And maybe that means something. Maybe, just maybe, that means you're not done yet. Maybe they were wrong about you. Maybe the world hasn't seen what you're truly capable of. And if that's the case, then it's time to show them. There comes a moment when the weight becomes unbearable, when the fight starts to feel pointless, when every step forward feels like sinking deeper into quicksand. You've tried, over and over again, you've pushed through, hoping that maybe this time will be different. But it never is. The doors remain shut, the world remains indifferent, and you are left alone with nothing but your failures. Failure. That word has become a part of you. It clings to your skin, wraps itself around your mind like a chain. Every time you think you've escaped it, it pulls you back, whispering the same venomous lie. You're not good enough. You never were. You feel it, don't you? That suffocating pressure, the unbearable weight of knowing that no matter how hard you try, you always seem to fall short. You look around, searching for someone, anyone, who understands. But all you see are faces that don't care, people who never believed in you to begin with. They watch you struggle, some with amusement, some with indifference, but none with compassion. They see you drowning, but no one reaches out a hand. Because why would they? To them, you are just another name, another nobody, another person who tried and failed like all the rest. And maybe they're right. That thought haunts you. It lingers in the back of your mind, whispering at night when you're too exhausted to fight it. Maybe they were right about you. Maybe you really are nothing. Because how else do you explain it? How else do you justify why nothing ever works out? Why every attempt ends in failure? You've given everything you had, and it still wasn't enough. You've watched them succeed. The ones who never had to claw their way out of the darkness. The ones who had the right name, the right connections, the right luck. You've seen them rise, while you remain stuck in the same place, screaming into a void that never answers back. The worst part? The silence. Not the noise of failure, not even the voices of those who doubted you. The silence. The absence of any sign that you're on the right path. The loneliness of chasing something that seems to get further away the closer you get. You tell yourself to keep going, but your body is tired, your mind is breaking. You can't help but wonder if you've been fighting a battle you were never meant to win. Maybe some people just aren't meant for greatness. Maybe some people were born to stay in the background, to live small lives, to never taste the victory they crave. And if that's the case, why keep fighting? Why keep trying when the universe has made it clear that this isn't for you? You think about stopping, about letting go, about walking away from the dreams that have only ever brought you pain. Maybe it would be easier to accept it, to stop running toward something that was never meant to be yours. You tell yourself that it doesn't matter, that none of it ever did. But deep down, beneath the exhaustion, beneath the doubt, there's a voice, faint, barely there, but it refuses to die. It whispers something else, something different, something dangerous. What if they were wrong? And for the first time in a long time, you hesitate. Because if they were wrong, if they were truly wrong about you, then walking away would be the biggest mistake of your life. But what if they were wrong? That single thought lingers, refusing to fade, refusing to die like they wanted you to. It's small at first, a whisper buried beneath the wreckage of doubt. But the more you think about it, the louder it becomes. A crack in the darkness, a flicker of something ancient and untamed. Because you've spent too long believing the lies, too long letting their words shape you, letting their laughter define you, too long carrying their weight on your shoulders as if you were born to suffer beneath it. But what if suffering wasn't your purpose? What if it was your fuel? Fire is born from destruction. It does not ask permission to burn, it consumes. And every ounce of pain they've thrown at you has been kindling, waiting for a single spark. You feel it now, don't you? The shift, the tremor beneath the surface of everything you thought you knew. For the first time, you don't just accept the pain, you embrace it. You trace every scar, every wound, every moment of betrayal, and you see them for what they really are. Proof that you are still here. Proof that you have endured. Proof that no matter how many times they tried to break you, you never truly shattered. And if you're still standing after all of it, then what else are you capable of? The idea terrifies you. Because it's easier to stay down. It's easier to keep believing you were never meant for more. Because rising means risking failure. It means stepping into the unknown. It means taking everything they use to hold you back and setting it ablaze. But what's the alternative? To keep living like this? To keep shrinking, apologizing for your own existence? To stay buried under the weight of their expectations, their assumptions, their laughter? No, no more. This is the moment of defiance. The moment where you stop accepting their version of you. The moment where you take back everything they stole. They called you weak, but they never saw what was growing beneath the surface. They never saw the storm they were creating. You don't need permission. You don't need approval. You don't need anyone to believe in you. It's time to rise. The world still doesn't see it. They don't see the shift happening inside you. And that's exactly how it should be. Because real transformation happens in silence. Growth is not loud. It does not announce itself. It happens in the shadows, in the hours no one watches, in the moments no one cares to notice. The world is blind to the fire building inside you, but that fire does not need an audience to burn. This is the phase they never warn you about. The part of the journey where no one claps, where no one cheers. This is where most people give up, because change feels slow, almost invisible. You won't see results overnight. There won't be a grand moment of validation, no sudden recognition from the people who doubted you. And that's where the test comes in. Can you keep going when there's no applause? Can you trust the process when the world still sees you as the person you used to be? You're learning something they never did, the art of resilience. The ability to keep moving forward, not because of external rewards, but because something inside you refuses to stop. The fear that used to paralyze you, it's changing. It's no longer a cage, it's fuel. You've spent too long running from it, letting it dictate your limits. But now you understand. Fear is proof that you are pushing beyond the boundaries they set for you. Fear only exists where new territory begins. You've been forced to master patience, to understand that real power isn't built in moments of recognition, but in the grind no one sees. You've been learning discipline in the dark, and they don't even know it. Every failure has been a lesson in disguise. Every rejection was a training ground. Every time they dismissed you, you learned how to keep moving without their approval. You don't even recognize yourself anymore. The old version of you, the one who needed validation, who second-guessed every move, who let their words define you, that version is dead. You are no longer the person they laughed at. You are no longer the weak, hesitant soul they thought they had figured out. You are something else now, and they have no idea what's coming. Something shifts. It's not loud, not dramatic, at least not to the world. But to you, it's everything. The weight is gone. The doubt that once strangled you, the fear that kept you small, it no longer owns you. You no longer flinch at their words. You no longer seek their approval. You no longer care if they believe in you, because you believe in yourself. And that is the only validation you will ever need. They were blind, not you. They failed to see what was growing beneath the surface. They mistook your silence for surrender, your patience for weakness. They thought you had given up. They thought they had won, but they were wrong. They were so wrong. This is the moment of declaration, the moment where you refuse to stay small. I will not be caged by their expectations. I will not shrink to fit inside their comfort. I will not be the version of me they created in their minds. You say it, and for the first time you mean it. You are done apologizing for your existence. You are done explaining yourself to people who never deserved an explanation. You have been reborn, not as the person they once dismissed, but as something unrecognizable. You rise, not from their acceptance, but from the ashes of everything they tried to destroy in you. You are not the joke. You are not the afterthought. You are the storm they never saw coming, and now they will know what it means to doubt you. They will regret every word, every laugh, every time they turn their backs, because you are not just here to prove them wrong, you are here to make them remember your name forever. You are no longer fighting to prove anything. You are the proof. Every battle, every scar, every moment of rejection has not just made you stronger, it has made you untouchable. They once needed to see you struggle to believe you existed. Now they feel your presence before you even speak. You don't chase validation, you don't seek revenge, you are beyond all of that. You do not need to hurt them. The simple fact that you survive, that you thrive despite them is enough. They don't laugh anymore. They don't whisper your name with mockery. They don't see you as the joke they once did. Now, they say your name with hesitation, with fear, with regret. The tables have turned, and the poetic irony is impossible to ignore. The same people who dismissed you are now watching in stunned silence. The same ones who once doubted you now scramble to align themselves with your presence. You walk into rooms and something shifts. You don't need to demand respect. It is given, instinctively unspoken. Because power is not in words, not in shouting for attention. Power is in the quiet certainty of knowing exactly who you are. And you know now, completely, fully, You are no longer their afterthought. You are no longer the one left behind. You are the force they cannot control. You are the nightmare they created. There are no more excuses, no more waiting. No more blaming the past, the circumstances, or the people who failed to see your worth. Every single thing you need is already inside you. The power, the drive, the hunger. It was never missing. It was never broken. It was only buried beneath the lies you once believed. But now there is no more room for doubt, no more space for hesitation. The only question left is this: are you ready to step into who you were always meant to be? This is the challenge, the final test, the moment where you decide whether you will remain a memory of wasted potential or a force too powerful to be ignored. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you the life you deserve. If you want it, take it. If you're tired of being overlooked, rise. If you're done being the joke, become the nightmare they never saw coming. Because the truth is clear now. You were never the joke. They were blind to the legend in the making. They saw a weak, broken version of you because that's all they wanted to see. But that version no longer exists. Now, when they look at you, they will see something else. Something they fear. Something they cannot control. You stand at the edge of your old life, staring into the unknown of what comes next. The choice is yours. Fade into the background, forgotten like all the others who never had the courage to step forward or embrace the force inside you and take what is yours. And when you do, when the world finally wakes up to the power they tried to suppress, they will remember this moment. They will remember every time they laughed, every time they doubted, every time they turned their backs, and they will realize the mistake they made. They should have been careful who they laughed at. Because now, the world belongs to you.